looking back at when we know that the people that are affected, I'm sorry, by mental health issues is so huge. You already know my name. I'm Joshua's mother. And today he is alive, but he is not living. Most of you already know the part of my story that I've shared publicly on Facebook. This all came about at a point in my life where I felt absolutely desperate to get help for my son, who struggles with mental health and addiction. I wasn't sure I would even be able to speak to you today, but my youngest son, Joshua's only brother, said, "Mom, you need to do this because you can." He gave me the strength, thank you, Carrie, to face my fear of standing before you today. And even as I drove along yesterday from Halifax with my mind wandering, as it always does, I felt Alex tugging at my heart, and I could not disappoint him. So, this is for my two beautiful sons. I want to read a quote that I read the other day that said, "Do not judge my story by the chapter that you walked in on." It resonated deeply with me because there is so much more to our story and to my son than what you see every day on King Street as he sits surrounded by garbage, in the heat, in the rain, unable to care for himself, and helpless. My son was once a beautiful, brilliant, happy child, kind and talented. He loved his family and had wonderful childhood friends. He was my little man. It just so happens that the chapter you walked in on is a dark one. It's one of grief and loss and anger and frustration. I've been grieving the loss of my son for years as I watched helplessly as he slipped away through self-medicating his own pain. I struggle to this day with self-blame, as many of us parents do when our children are suffering, but it's futile. We need to take that blame and do something positive with it, and that is why I'm here. We find ourselves so helpless to do anything as our children are considered adults. That, or there, lies the problem. Would we allow a child living with autism to sit on the streets, specifically on King Street, alone, unable to manage their way through life? Would we allow our elderly living with Alzheimer's to roam the streets at night of Fredericton and sleep under a bridge? I think not. We have to change our Mental Health Act. We cannot afford to lose another life due to restrictions imposed upon us as parents of adult children by our government and the medical community with their hands tied behind their backs. I don't want to hear of one more life lost because we don't have sufficient care for people living with mental illness. It's unacceptable. If we can rally together for cancer, raise millions for research, surely we can do better for our mental health care system in this province and across Canada. I told myself yesterday, as I so often do, and I arrived in Fredericton, that maybe I should wait before I go see Joshua until I've spoken. But the first thing as a mother that I do when I arrive in the city is I go to King Street And I get there, and this is what I saw. He was sitting in a huddle after a downpour. Everything was soaked. He wasn't moving out of the rain. I swept his hair back off his beautiful face as it was stuck everywhere and he couldn't see. I wiped the dirt from around his mouth because he doesn't know enough to do so. But the hospital says he's okay. He can make his own decisions. Meanwhile, trying to convince him to let me dry his stuff and get a bite together. There's no response. There is no response to touch. There is no conversation. There is no reaction to my presence. He's surrounded by garbage. He's covered in flies. No mother should have to see that. No matter what I said or did, there was no response. How can this be okay? I watched people staring, little children walking by, looking back at him, and their parents hauling them past really quickly so they wouldn't have to see him for long. And my heart was breaking for my son trapped inside his mind. I wanted to be here especially to thank everyone who has shown my son kindness and respect. And I want to thank you for letting me share today. And I hope that in doing so, something good will come of this issue that we face with our adult children suffering with mental health issues. We can do better, Fredericton. And I will continue to fight for my son because giving up is just not an option. Thank you.